Modern Las Vegas casino security is a billion-dollar military-grade apparatus. Complex algorithms run constantly behind the scenes, analyzing every shuffle, every bet, and every face on the floor, specifically engineered to catch professional thieves. Yet, on January 9, 2019, someone walked out of the Wynn Casino with $38 million. There were no firearms involved, no hack the mainframe, and there was no masked crew coordinating over earpieces. The instrument used to pull this off was a standard gray cleaning cart, pushed by a night shift janitor named Miguel Santos. Santos took advantage of a psychological blind spot known as functional invisibility. Surface workers exist in an environment where human attention naturally filters them out. People, and by extension the security operators monitoring the cameras, process them as background noise. A security network engineered to flag unusual behavior has a massive blind spot for anything that looks like a routine chore. Miguel hadn't moved to Las Vegas to be a thief. For years, he was a dedicated construction worker, building the very casinos he would eventually clean. But after the 2008 recession cost him his trade, and his wife's medical bills piled up to $85,000, his custodial wages were no longer enough to keep his family afloat. Working 50 hours a week under crushing financial pressure, Miguel began noticing details about the casino's overnight chip processing routine, specifically a quiet window between 3 and 4 a.m. This animated diagram tracks a casino's daily operations and security density. During peak gaming hours, the human security presence is massive, but between 3 and 4 a.m., that line drops to 0 in the service corridors. During this hour, millions of dollars in chips sit in temporary storage containers, guarded only by standard industrial padlocks and unmanned security cameras. As this diagram updates to show authorized employee movement, you can see that a janitor's physical access map intersects perfectly with that unpatrolled location. Because custodial staff are required to clean every single room, they are issued the highest physical clearance in the entire building. The security system was built to identify external threats and monitor customer behavior, meaning the movements of authorized staff in service areas were rarely scrutinized. The opportunity presented itself at exactly 2:58 a.m. on January 9th. A minor altercation broke out between intoxicated customers in the poker room, pulling the remaining security guards away from the monitors. While the guards were distracted, Miguel used his access card to enter the secure service area. Moving with practiced efficiency, he pulled a pair of bolt cutters from beneath his cleaning supplies and snapped the locks on the storage containers. He ignored the low-denomination pieces, targeting only the high-value chips. Grabbing stacks of $100 and $500 markers gave him the best possible value-to-weight ratio to load into his cart. At 3:22 a.m., pushing a cart now loaded with $38 million hidden under garbage bags, Miguel crossed paths with a patrolling security guard. The guard said hello, noticed nothing suspicious about him, and kept walking. 23 minutes later, at 3:45 a.m., Miguel clocked out, loaded the containers into his personal vehicle at the loading dock, and drove his vehicle away into the desert. He never had to evade a single security camera. By disguising the theft as a routine custodial task, he committed the crime entirely in plain sight. The casino remained oblivious until the 8 a.m. daily audit. When the financial controller attempted to reconcile the previous night's inventory inside the cashier's cage, she discovered the missing containers and immediately initiated a full FBI lockdown. When federal agents arrived at Miguel's apartment, they found it professionally sanitized. He had quietly closed bank accounts, canceled his leases, and eliminated his digital footprint, preparing an escape route long before he ever picked up the bolt cutters. Physical possession of the chips, however, brought a new challenge. These are sophisticated liquid cash, required a criminal network far beyond the reach of a single individual. To actually spend the money, Miguel had to transition from a solitary thief into an active participant in international money laundering. His research led him to the gray market economy of Macau. There, he made contact with the Golden Dragon Syndicate, a criminal organization that specializes in filtering stolen American chips through vast underground gambling networks. However, navigating an international syndicate proved highly volatile. The underworld was dangerous, and back in the United States, his family was facing the social and financial fallout of his disappearance. In November 2019, Miguel initiated contact with investigators. 3 months later, he walked into the United States consulate in Hong Kong to surrender. In exchange for immunity for his wife and privacy for his children, he handed federal agents detailed intelligence on the Asian chip laundering networks they had spent decades trying to track. The heist reveals the irony of a security culture that overlooks its own staff. Miguel Santos's surrender finally opened a window into the international laundering operations that had operated in the shadows for years.